Hello guys, thank you for being here. My name is Derek and I do computer projects under Rhodes PC. And this is the PC Modding and Making Podcast. Now, my guest today, his name's Cameron. He's a very cool dude. He's helped me out a lot with 3D printing and CNC V-carve projects and the tool paths and all that stuff. And he was a huge help when I got my CNC and I first, was finding my legs, my sea legs with the CNC. Cam was my go-to guy when I had a question. And I've owed him a podcast episode since I got started because, he's got a lot of knowledge and I've wanted to talk to him for a while. And he's a super nice guy who took the time to actually do video tutorials for me when I was just getting started with VCarve. And he's got the voice for video. He's incredible at that stuff. And he works in a really cool space as well. He works in the tech space down in Arizona. So let's get Cam in here and we'll get started on the episode. Okay, hey Cam, how's it going?
It's going good.
Round two.
Yeah.
Let's get started.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
for the people just joining us and just listening on the podcast, who are you and what do you do and what is your niche and kind of focus that you like to share and do, the projects surrounding on social media?
So I'm Cameron. I'm the lead mind designer, maker behind Pixal Designs. I've originally my whole scope was going to be solely around Mandalorian helmets because I'm a huge Star Wars nerd.
March 1st.
Can't wait.
Yeah, I
Can't
know. I'm
wait.
pumped, dude.
Yeah. So I have 3 original Mandalorian helmet style designs that are approvable for the official Mandalorian costuming club.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where there's a form for that?
So there's an approval process. You have to make sure that the helmet fits the universe because you can't just, oh hey, I made this helmet and it's for my Mandalorian costume, because this is the official sponsor. Well, I don't know if it's sponsored by LucasArts, but it's associated with I want to say it's associated with Lucasfilm. So kind of like in The Mandalorian,
Yeah.
the stormtroopers that were in that were from the 501st, the stormtrooper costuming group.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
So it's so cool to have that. And so I have 3 designs that I've done on my own that I've wanted to produce, but I have yet to do that.
Well, why don't you tackle that?
So because I've got a couple big hangups on just selling the models. And so and then I've never had a printer big enough to where I could print a whole helmet in one go, and that's always been my goal. But every time I either get a printer or something, there's always something going on, and there's always something else, and then it's well, there's always another printer, there's always another
Yeah.
hurdle to go over, and everything just costs so much money.
Oh, dude, I know this. So your thing is 3D printing. We'll sum it up
Yeah.
and kind of expand on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
picked up a few how do I say the name properly? Elegoo Jupiters?
Elgu, I think.
Elgoo.
Just Elgu, yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
dude, to print a helmet, that's actually a bigger printer than people expect. Because I know for myself, I've bought 1, 2, 3, 4 printers now. And every time I'm like, oh, maybe this one will do it, or a little closer, or I'll be able to do a helmet in 2 pieces. And it's like, nope,
Mm-hmm.
you need a
Yeah.
big printer to do a full helmet.
Yeah. And so the printer, a lot of people use the CR10 from Creality.
Yeah.
but even that is pushing it. Like, I don't think my helmet's there. I have a lot of larger earpieces on it, so you can't just uh, throw it down and print it like straight on. You actually would have to angle it
Oh,
because
okay.
you'd be able to fill out the volume, the build volume a bit better. But yeah, but so I do a lot of 3D printing. I mainly do the design work behind it all.
You do, yeah. So, to the people, who are just meeting you for the first time, I met Cam when I first was working on my Razor Crest kind of build. This was 2020's Canadian modding competition. 2020 or 2021? 2021 it
I
would have
think it
been.
was 20. Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Last year's, because they didn't do one this year. And Cam helped design the front of the Razor Crest for me, which you can't see a ton because I did cover it in foam, but to get the shape correct to the the scale that I was working with, I reached out to Cam under Pixel Designs, and he helped me do the design for it. And there was actually like more to it that I could have printed or even might do again in the future. But I also had to chop that one up because my printer wasn't big enough. It's
Yeah,
something you run into a lot.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, that was fun. That
Uh,
was a really fun project.
Yeah, I liked it, and it
So,
was really well. It was really well received. I actually still have the case in my garage on a shelf. I have a
oh
small
yeah.
shelf with I think there's 5 projects up there, just of the computers that were built, and they ended up, being tore down for the using the parts elsewhere. But I did keep the case, so I have like a shelf of cases that I did. It would be nice to have sold them like as the full mod, but
Mhm.
some people don't want a little Razor Crest computer on their desk. That's more of a modder's thing. But
Yeah, yeah.
what are you working on now?
So, let's see. My most recent project that I finished was the Keyblade from Kingdom Hearts,
Yeah, that was
the
awesome.
Kingdom Plea. So that was a really fun project. So,
H-
and that's some I.
How many parts did that print in?
So that was four.
4 parts for that whole thing. That's wild, man.
Yeah. So, and you mentioned the Jupiter. I
Yeah.
got all four parts into one build volume on that printer.
Wow. So you could
And
have printed
so,
two.
uh, well, since I have two of the printers, yes.
Yeah.
So,
Dang, dude, you could be pumping those out.
yeah, yeah.
How much
And
resin? How
so
much resin was it? Do you?
maybe a liter.
Oh yeah, quite a bit.
So yeah, it was, but since the Jupiter, so the Jupiter has this resin reservoir system where you take a whole extra bottle, put the special lid on it, and you just pop it on the side of the tank, and it will automatically refill the tank as needed.
Oh, that's
And it
nice, dude.
was, yeah, that was one of the big selling points because I have the Phenom L, whereas like I'll start a large print and be like biting at like my nails, like, is there enough resin in there?
Yeah,
And
and you
so,
can't go to sleep or like I know for myself, I have the Saturn S, and if I do a big print and it's you're not sure if it's enough and you're scared to go to sleep because you're like, well, I don't want to go to sleep and waste, the last,
yeah, yeah,
the full vat of resin that was there and the time it took to print it. And now I wake up and the printers ran out and yeah, so that's actually really sweet to have, like for peace of
yeah.
mind when you're trying to have a shop like work autonomously.
Mhm.
It'd almost be worth it to
So,
design your own for any printer.
well, so there's that. I mean, yeah, you could design it, but the way that they have it, and so it's the refill system is actually integrated into the vat. So
Oh,
there's like a slot that goes back that's actually integrated into it. And so it's like, yeah,
that's helpful.
yeah.
That's helpful, dude. Yeah, we've worked together. You also helped me a ton with Omni for
Mhm.
people that maybe are familiar with my projects and the Omni project I did for Asus in July, who he was at PAX West. For that project, went from like CNC noob to actually understanding my CNC and successfully building,
CNC Pro.
well, no, successfully building 4 legs for him. which is cool. And Cam, you helped me a lot with that. You actually made three. It's a fun story. So the modding community is a very fun, tight knit community, and there's all kinds
Yeah.
of trading. It's like trading cards, like Pokemon, is how I look at it. And I used to be an excellent Pokemon trader. So there was once a time when Cameron was on the market for a 3090, and I just so it happened to have had a
Just over
beautiful
there too.
EVGA for the Win 3 3090, which is now like a collector's item. And he was looking for it. And I went, hey, I have an idea. We'll do a little trading card game, and I'll give you a good price on the 3090. Like, but to trade for the good price, I want like some like grade A level educational videos on CNC and design work and how to work V carve and tool paths. And Cameron built me all three of those videos, and talked me through start to finish how to actually get started on a project. And I still use those videos. If I run into something, I reference them.
Oh, awesome. Awesome.
Oh yeah, dude, I love that stuff. Sharing knowledge is way more
Yeah.
valuable than a couple $100 or something.
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah.
even now, I've been actually going pretty CNC heavy these last couple weeks. I have two projects underway that I was using the CNC for a lot. One of them was like 9 sheets of hardboard that I cut 57 pieces of something out of. It was pretty dope, actually. I don't have it done yet, so I'm not exactly sure what it's going to be, but it's a skull that I designed in 3D, and then I chopped it into 57 slices. So like you're
Okay.
looking at it like
Yeah.
this, and it's all chopped like this.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And I cut all 57 pieces, and I put a big pole through it, and it's in my garage now, and I'm going to do some more work to it. And just today I was building the stand for it out of just 1/2 inch birch plywood, which was nice. And then I'm also doing, I started to build a little pirate ship. And yeah, and the pirate ship I started out with just like a scroll saw and 1/8 inch hardboard, and then I went on to the CNC and I made 1/2 inch versions of what I had kind of mocked up yesterday.
Dude, awesome.
It's not, I don't know where it's going yet, but I just started to do that, and I thought, I'm very happy to be as comfortable as I am with the CNC. Nothing like 3D or crazy, and I did the one distro and it was a lot of work, or the one reservoir and it was a lot of work, so I've been kind of scared to go back there.
Yeah.
But the woodworking stuff has been like, oh, this is easy.
Yeah.
It's
And,
nice.
and, and that's funny because so I do not like cutting wood on my CNC.
No?
I don't. I don't. So, but you give me plastics, you give me foam, you give me any sort of other like material other than wood, all day, all day. I will cut that all day.
Foam is something I've wanted to do actually, because for packaging it seems, well, essential, really.
Yeah. And like you've seen what Eric who from Yule Beast has been doing with his packaging for the Calypso.
Yeah.
That's not, I don't want to say it's the Shapeoko is a step down from ours, but it's not like a huge build volume or a work area. It's essentially a maker series CNC
Yeah.
versus like the other probably tens of thousands of dollars worth of laser equipment the guy has access to. He's
Dude,
using
he's got a
this,
lot.
yeah, he's got the simple CNC just to cut these simple paths, just to hold these computer parts together so perfectly. And it's like, that is incredible.
Yeah, he's very resourceful. When I talked to him last week, it was pretty cool to learn like he's third generation metal fabricator, and his family
Oh,
owns the whole
wow.
shop. So he's actually the manager of the shop during the week, and it's his dad's company.
Wow.
So that kind of, connects the dots as to why he knows what he knows and is surrounded by those machines you see on social media. Cause you're like, dude, that's more than my house would cost. Like,
Yeah.
sure, it would be awesome to have that for my projects, but I don't think I'll ever be able to afford that thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we run into that even with like our CNCs were expensive and 3D printers are
Mhm.
expensive. I find that's an area I'm always trying to work on is like I need more material and more tooling, but I also have to, because there's so many things like the CNC, the printer, uh, and just hand tools like power tools themselves. You kind of really got to budget what materials to pick up per project. And
Yeah.
I found it's worked better for me to kind of say, like this ship, this is going to be like a wood CNC and woodworking heavy project. My last one was like a 3D printing project, and I kind of keep it separate. That way I don't kill myself on the overhead. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And that's so a project I'm working on right now is this keyboard that I've shown you, right?
mhm.
And so um, I got the latest prototype right here. It's kind of in shambles because I mean it's a prototype,
Oh
but I mean
yeah.
it's entirely 3D printed, and um, I mean the crazy thing is that I designed it so it takes these brass fittings that you just friction fit in there, so that way it holds the threads in that way. But I mean, you talk about uh,
Sorry, how
CNC. Oh,
sorry, just those inserts, they just pushed in and they stay there? Or do
mhm.
you have to put a
Yeah.
glue or
So I specified the tolerances of the hole, and inserts have it's kind of like a knurling around it, so it actually can, as it goes in, it kind of grips into the material,
oh nice.
and so yeah, they're not coming out. I mean, to get them out so I can use them on the final pieces, I'm gonna have to break it. Essentially, I
Mm,
might have to take a Dremel and make a couple slots to essentially cut it out. So it's
really,
like,
eh?
yeah.
Well, those are sweet.
So I mean, it's one of those things where it's like when you first start a project, exactly what you said, you kind of have to have an idea of like, hey, this is going to be a 3D printing heavy project. This is going to be a mixture of both CNC and 3D printing and etc. So
Yeah, it makes supply runs a lot easier too. Because I
yeah,
found like when I did Omni, it was a lot of paint, a lot of 3D printing, and a lot of CNC. And it was
yeah,
also kind of trial and error on the CNC through most of it. So I was like, oh, I need wood. So I got to go to the hardware store and pick up some lumber. Oh, now I need some, filament. I ran out again. So there's a
yeah.
different store in a different part of town that carries filament where I live, and it was all over the map.
Um,
But you kind of get used to what you use. Like today I knew what I'm going to be doing with the woodworking. Super glue is super handy. So I
mhm.
just grabbed like 10 tubes of super glue when I seen a good deal on it in the store I was in today, because I know that I will need that. And that's kind of like a shop staple. It's just super
Yeah,
glue,
yeah.
which I've started to like to use the really small, kind of like 1 or 2 usage tubes. And they come in like little packs
Really,
of 3. Yeah, because I
yeah,
found the big ones. I think they're more expensive when you buy the big one. And like in a sense, because the
yeah.
little ones, I get 3 of the small ones for $5. And they last like actually quite a lot because you don't use a lot of super glue.
All right.
And the big ones I was finding were kind of drying out, or I was wasting because I was using too much. And then you're paying for that. So I find I'm actually more
Hmm.
like disciplined in my usage when it's the smaller tubes.
Yeah,
And if something goes wrong and the cap doesn't go on, you only lose a little bit instead of a lot of bit.
yeah.
That's what I started doing with that. But
Interesting. I might have to try that. That's yeah, it's not bad.
yeah, I like it. Uh, I'll just write this down here. 7:59. Okay. So here's a fun question. If something was to be happening in your home and you had to vacate, I heard this one on the Making Your Way podcast. They shared it and it's pretty fun. What 3 tools would you kind of grab on your way out, or what are your 3 go-to tools?
Well, lately it's actually been my iPad.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, since I have two Jupiters, can I take both of them and consolidate that as one, or is one
Yeah, that could
Jupiter
be
one
one.
tool?
Yeah, that could
Okay,
be one
so
tool.
yeah, my iPad, the Jupiters, and then yeah, probably my CNC.
Yeah, you take
Yeah.
the machines with you.
Just roll it on out like, all right, let's go.
What do you do from your iPad?
So I've actually been moving a lot to doing all my designing on my iPad.
Really?
Yeah.
Excuse me, with
S-
SketchUp?
So there's an app called Shaper 3D.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
Um, so they have a free version, and it's the free version. I mean, they lock down a lot of the nice things uh, because they do have a subscription version. But it's actually an awesome version of CAD that I've been able to find. And I
Really?
like it because I mean, it's easy to just have an iPad with me, and the files that I work on my iPad can easily transfer over the cloud to my computer. And it doesn't matter if it's to a Mac laptop or a Windows
Oh,
PC, it's just there.
that was gonna be my question.
Yeah. And
'Cause-
so, and it's since it started out as an iPad CAD app, um, it's just super easy to use. And then they've been able to transfer a lot of that to the PC side.
hmm,
And like they just came out recently with uh, a rendering engine on it. And so you can get really good visuals and apply materials, paint, like texture. Like if you want to have an metal anodized color on a material, you can apply that and it'll have like the subtle texture.
on your iPad, that's
Um,
cool.
yeah,
I've seen Uncle Jesse on YouTube talk about the Shaper 3D app.
yeah. And so my first and real project that I'm using for it is actually going to be for my Calypso from UB's
Oh,
Design. So I guess, old fashioned. I still use SSDs for all my storage on my PC. And so the Calypso can accommodate two SSDs on the side of the power supply.
okay.
So I talked with Eric, and he was able to give me some help with dimensions and stuff on how so that I can design a bracket so that I can stack two SSDs on either side of the power supply.
Oh, double it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so I did all that inside Shaper 3D.
Well, that's
And
really cool, dude.
yeah, and so that's all on the free version too. I mean, the subscription isn't that bad. I think it's $20 a month. But I mean,
That
it's one of those things where it's like, I'd rather not pay a subscription.
yeah, man,
And
is there
that's
ever a lot of subscriptions out there? I even found today there
yeah,
was an app going around. Here, let me look it up.
yeah.
I downloaded it. Lenza was going around on social media, so I checked it out, and what that does is it takes your pictures and it turns it into an anime character. But dude, it's like $4 a month, and I was like, I really wouldn't mind knowing what I look like as a, DC superhero, but I don't want to pay $4.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
didn't do it.
yeah. But is it a subscription or is it a one-time purchase?
It has like a discount today and you pay for the whole year, but they average it out to tell you it's $3 a month, but then when you go to buy it,
Yeah.
it's the $45 or $49 charge. But that on top of, like,
Yeah,
I don't know about you, but on television we got like 10 subscriptions by accident.
yeah,
You try to just have two and you end up with way more. And then I do like YouTube subscription, excuse me, is essential. Skillshare. What else do I do on my phone? Spotify? Do I still pay for Spotify? I don't remember. I don't know if I do, but I know that those other two
yeah,
are like $20 a month total, or 25,
yeah, yeah.
which is cool.
And it
But
adds up. And I mean, yeah, you get like, so one of my main go-to pieces of software that I'm not going to use anymore is ZBrush.
really, eh?
So, I mean, so one of my big things is they were recently purchased, and the company that purchased all Maxon is very heavy on the subscription. And one of the things that I loved about ZBrush is, I mean, you can have a subscription, but you can also purchase a license and
Okay.
just have that, and updates were included for life. And I mean, even then, I mean, I wouldn't mind paying for an update for
Yeah.
ZBrush, but Maxon, they don't do perpetual license essentially.
Just a
So,
subscription.
so
Oh yeah.
they will update it to a point, and then all future updates are for new subscription holders.
Hmm.
So I'll still use ZBrush because it's still one of the best sculpting apps out there, in my opinion. And um, it's just easy for me to get a lot of concepts out of my mind when it comes to like a prop or anything out into ZBrush.
Do you find
Versus,
have you worked with Blender?
yeah,
Out
yeah.
of those two, you find ZBrush better?
So I haven't done the sculpting in Blender yet.
Oh,
It's one of
okay.
those things where I'm tempted to, but yeah, I haven't dived into that
Yeah,
on
I'm just
Blender.
getting
But
started on Blender.
yeah,
Lots to learn, but I feel like there's a lot of people in the community, both like just hobby, DIY, PC modding, and the making community are all kind of, maybe it's just my brain and like my eyes and my algorithms, but everything seems like hyper focused on Blender lately.
mhm,
Like everyone's
yeah.
learning Blender or promoting Blender or trying Blender. So I'm like, well, I better make
So
sure I try it and try and keep up with it.
so I mean, I've been designing since 2014. Blender's been in my I've known about Blender since I first started because it's like, what are people using to design? How are people creating these designs? And so I tried Blender in 2014 and I hated it.
Yeah,
Absolutely loathed it.
it's pretty complex when you just hop in.
And so, and every now and then I would try and well, I'll give Blender a shot because there was a new update and whatnot. It I finally figured out what the heck I'm doing in Blender in 2020, 2021. So finally figured it out. And
Any of the
so,
stuff on your Instagram, have you done? So sorry to cut you off,
yeah.
but if I was to scroll your Instagram, there's like a bunch of like props and designs there. Those were mostly ZBrush or a couple of them Blender or
Let me actually see. So, uh, the majority of the stuff is ZBrush.
hmm.
Um,
I feel bad you're losing it, man.
yeah, it's well, I mean, I get it to a point. I don't get future updates, so I still get my permanent license. So,
Oh, that's
but
good.
a lot of my more like so my two recent posts on Instagram, the two keyblades, those were all done in Fusion 360.
Right, Fusion, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
which
pretty
I
cool.
mean, yeah. So that was actually when I first started designing in 2014. That was my go-to,
Fusion
and
360.
so because I mean, it's a solid application, and you can do your cam in it if you wanted to. You can program for your CNC.
Yeah.
Um,
Which is nice. That so Cam is your the G code kind of CNC program. So you when you make the design, you can kind of walk it over in the same program and see that it will, cut properly and function properly and not run into any errors. Whereas like me right now, I do designing, I use like 3D Builder or Blender. I carry them over to VCarve and kind of do my toolpaths there and check everything there.
yeah,
And then I run into problems and I got to backpedal and go back over to 3D Builder and fix it. And
yeah. Yeah, there's always that back and forth, right? And it's just nice in Fusion where you can, I mean, you just stay in that app, and it's just you're just locked in. It's not having to go back, open up a save file. It's and then export that corrected model out. It's all
Yeah.
just native.
Yeah. Yeah, I really got to spend more time on Fusion 360. It seems like the winner, the go-to between Fusion
Mhm.
360 and then the Blender hype of as of late. But I mean, I was talking to Ron and a few guys at TwitchCon, and like they're trying out ZBrush as well. I think ZBrush does sound like the user-friendly one. It's just that
Mhm.
I don't know why it's a little bit less popular.
Well, and it's funny that you say that because ZBrush is like when I first saw it, the UI was very complicated, and it still is kind of complicated, but there's just a few things you need to try and figure out when it first comes to getting a sphere in there and then getting it ready to sculpt on. And so it's just one of those things where like once you figure it out, it's like, okay, I'm finally seeing the workflow.
Yeah, once you have it, you have it.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Okay, let me write
But
this down. 8, 10. Usually I prepare. I'll edit this part. Usually I prepare show notes and stuff, but it's been such a crazy weekend, dude. Today is my last day
no,
off. I go back to work tomorrow, and it's just the kids and stuff have been crazy. So
yeah. Yeah. And we just got back in town Tuesday, and Thanksgiving was just it was a hot mess, man.
was it fun?
No.
Oh no.
My wife got RSV, and that turned into bronchitis the next day. My youngest got RSV and kind of has bronchitis, but my oldest and I, we've kind of steered clear of everything. And I'm just watching my watch. I'm looking at my watch like it's just a matter of time before I'm hit. So,
Hmm. Hopefully you stay clear, dude.
uh, yeah, I hope so.
So, dude, before we kind of wrap it up and sign off, I got to ask about your Mandalorian helmets. Like,
Yes.
just tell me about the three and like what's different and what's yours about them and what makes them legitimate, and then also what makes them different from what's in the show or out there already.
Well, let me show you one.
Oh, no way.
So this was the only one that I've actually uh, printed. And so this is my Talon helmet.
Nice, dude.
So I call it Talon because on the side of the mandibles, it's got like
Yeah.
kind of these talons. And so, um, but on the back, you got your vents.
Dude,
So
you should paint that.
I should. And I really,
How did you print that?
so this was printed on my Phenom L. It's two pieces. My idea for it was I would mold it and then cast it because I mean, castings are, it's essentially a real life copy and paste.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to wait 20 plus hours for 2/3 of this to print. And
Yeah.
then you have to work with this cleaning up the seam line, which I mean, isn't perfect and probably not coming up on camera, but there's a seam line right here.
Looks perfect to me.
Um, so, but it is hollow because it's a lot of resin if it
Mhm.
was to be solid. So, yeah, it's about, I think this was 5 millimeters thick, which I was crazy to do.
That's pretty thick.
Yeah.
Oh well.
So, but yeah, this was my 100% original design. I didn't use any um, third party reference material. This was just start from scratch. This was actually version 4 that I submitted to the approval team to the Mandalorian Merc community.
And they took it.
There's Yeah, they finally took it after the 4th try.
What was wrong with it
Um,
the other tries?
so so before before the Mandalorian show came out, every Mandalorian helmet had to have a full 360 brim around the edge that
Okay.
kind of separated this top dome from the bottom.
Yeah.
Every helmet had to have that. Um,
Hmm.
which is funny because then comes the Mandalorian, and all he has is this mohawk down the middle, and then two ears, no brim. And it's
Right.
like,
Dude, see, that's a detail like I didn't know, but it's cool.
and it's clean, and
So
it's so good.
There was the Mandalorian helmet criteria before the show.
So,
Oh,
and so, depending on what kind of a helmet you're going for, you can actually go for a different era in Mandalorian history. There's, oh, what's the first one called?
that I understand.
Yeah. So, I forget what the first era that they do costumes for is called, but then there's uh, Post Empire. No,
Like
well,
the books go like the Old Republic was
yeah,
first.
yeah, yeah. So it's like the new Old Republic era. So like Star Wars, the Old Republic era. Those That's a whole era of Mandalorian helmet criteria and design, and those have their own unique design features that need to be met. Then
You
there's
know
modern.
that's cool because like back then, so I did a Revan helmet. Well, the
Okay.
Revan mask.
Yeah.
I still have it. I did. Oh man, way back 2019, I tried to do the Cooler Master Case Mod World Series before I even knew how huge that competition is. And I signed up like, oh yeah, no problem. I'll do a Revan themed computer. So I did a Cooler Master case, the SL 600, I think it's called, and I did two tall reservoirs on either side.
Okay.
And
For
these
the
guys were
lightsabers.
tall, like they were dark side. I don't even remember the model, but they were taller than the case. And I did custom pumps. One was red and one was purple. And I had the mod water, reactive coolant on the sides.
Ooh.
And then I had the Revan mask in the middle. So I was basing it off of that picture with the two lightsabers and the mask.
Yeah. Yeah.
But dude, I never got done. I was so I gave myself a couple months and I thought, yeah, this will be no big deal. And then my you know when you like go to a buffet and you put way too much food on your plate and you can't eat it all. That's what I
Your
did with
eyes are
that.
bigger than your stomach.
Yes, that's the saying I'm looking for. I did that
Yeah.
with that project. And it was like I got the front done and I got the reservoirs mounted and I had the motherboard. I did some stuff too, and I did leather on the top
Okay.
panel, kind of to be like his hood.
Yeah.
And then the whole case itself was gold on the inside, or like a rose gold.
Okay. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't really know why that color with the rest of him, but anyways. And I had the mask painted, but that's like as far as I got. I didn't get the tubing, I
Yeah.
didn't get the wiring, but the front was cool. It would have been cool. And I went ahead and I actually, geez, fast forward 3 years, I threw out the case because it was just getting beat up in my garage. I kept all the parts, sold the actual components, kind of let it totally fall apart. I actually wish going back in time I could have finished it. Like I
Bring
don't know
it
why I
back.
did. I don't know why I didn't just finish it because it was like, I'm a big Star Wars fan. I read all of the Old Republic Revan novels to kind
Okay.
of to understand who Revan was because I had just read a little bit about him. And then you find out like he's like the coolest dude in Star Wars. And then you find out in this book, did you read them? I don't want to wreck it.
I haven't, but I know a bit of his lore.
Okay, well,
So
spoiler alert for any Star Wars fans who might not know this, but want to know this, but didn't want to find out from me. You're about to. Dude, Revan is like the hero of all of Star Wars that we don't even know happened unless you read the
yeah.
books.
Yeah.
In the end, uh, so the Empire, so or the Emperor, sorry, the Emperor is so left field, back in the Old Republic that he was going to wipe out everybody. Like back when the Jedi's were kind of being suppressed and the Empire was rising, the bleh, Mandalorians got taken out because they were actually so Mandalore was the leader of the Mandalorians, but he was actually being mind controlled by the Emperor to take out the Jedi's for the Empire, making sure people can follow. So the Emperor is the big bad guy controlling an army that thinks they're thinking on their own, but actually they're being mind controlled. That's the Mandalorians, to attack the Jedis. And only Revan understood what was happening, and he was a Jedi then. And he no, I'm missing something. The Mandalorians were just killing off each other or something, or they were just killing off
Is that this?
inhabitants. Yeah, they were just killing off inhabitants of the universe, I'm pretty sure. And the Jedis were sent to stop them, not by the Jedi Council, but by Revan. He made the call, let's take some of you Jedis and go stop these Mandalorians, which was against the Jedi Council's wishes, which is why he was banished and became a Sith. But he was trying to help the Mandalorians. So then only he knew where the mask of Mandalore ended up, which was when you wear the mask of Mandalore, you're the leader of the Mandalorians. So when the Mandalorians were taken out, Revan ended up wearing the mask, and he was like the unsung leader of the Mandalorians, but he was also a Jedi who turned Sith and then ended up back Jedi.
Yeah.
Fast forward years from that, he was retired, got brought out of retirement, had to go on this whole crazy mission to try and stop the Emperor, ended up allying with a Sith, and the Sith actually agreed with Revan that they had to stop the Emperor because he was just going to destroy the entire universe and everybody in it with his, power, lust for power. So then they ended up trying to fight the Emperor, and the Sith pretended to betray Revan. Okay, so we have the Sith sitting to the right of the Emperor, pretending he had betrayed Revan. Revan had another Jedi with him. She got taken out, so she's dead. But you know how when Jedis die, they turn into ghosts? So there's the ghost girl, that's Revan's friend that I can't remember her name. And the Sith is to the right of the Emperor. Revan gets captured and put in the Emperor's dungeon. So now, for the rest, it apparently carried on 300 years. So for 300 years following that fight, the Emperor didn't do anything crazy bad because Revan from the dungeon was using Jedi mind powers to steer the Emperor's thoughts and decisions so that he wouldn't destroy Revan's home planet and his family. He kept his family and his family's descendants safe for 300 years through mind control. And the Sith was also doing the same quest as the Emperor's right-hand man. He was like secretly trying to deceive the Emperor and change his, his decisions to kind of not be so crazy. And the Jedi that got killed was like a Jedi ghost outside of Revan's cage. And that's her energy is what kept him alive for 300 years and like sustained him when he would break down and almost lose his connection. So it's like that little team of three actually saved 300 years of the Star Wars, galaxy, which you wouldn't find out unless you read the book. So I read that book. It was so cool. Then I wanted to make the case. Then I made the mask, and that mask looks very different from the Mandalorian masks of today.
Yeah.
That's my whole story. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the thing about Star Wars. There's so much behind it.
There's so much, man. So much, and it's awesome.
It is. It's all awesome when you kind of read about it. And actually, dude, I just watched Lights and Magic. I don't know if you've seen that, but you should really watch it.
I haven't. No.
Oh, it's incredible. It's about Industrial Lights and Magic, which is the FX studio George Lucas started to make the first Star Wars. Dude, do you know how much George Lucas changed our world? Like, it's insane. I'll just throw some things out here and you'll be like, I didn't know, or maybe you did know this stuff. George Lucas, okay? So the camera dolly. So a dolly to able to go around anything. That's from the first Star Wars. Like there's so much I don't even know what to spit up first. The camera dolly, video editing. So Adobe came from George Lucas. Pixar came from George Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
The Star Wars universe, Indiana Jones, George Lucas wrote it and sold it to Spielberg. Jurassic Park and the Jumanjis were George Lucas's art director's first movies after doing Star Wars.
Wow.
The Toy Story came from Pixar, which George Lucas started the funding that created Pixar because he wanted to, incorporate 3D animations. But you just think about those things, and you're like, dude, video editing, a camera dolly, and Star Wars.
Well, and so along that point, so have you watched the behind the scenes of how they made like the Mandalorian show? Like those giant LED walls, that
Yeah,
room. So George Lucas talked about doing something like that, like during the first trilogy. Like he talked about how he wish he had something like that.
yeah. Then they used to do matte paintings, so they would do like one
Yeah,
guy for the whole first Star Wars drew like the panels. That was the background for all of the big scenes. It was so cool,
yeah,
dude.
yeah.
I hope
So
physical effects kind of come back around. They look so fun to make.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you look at like you've seen that picture of George Lucas just sitting there, just surrounded by all the different props used for like all the miniature X-wings and everything. And it's like, oh,
I know, right?
so cool,
Imagine you made one of those
so
X-wings.
cool. Oh man,
That'd have been the coolest.
yeah.
See, and that's where I kind of try and stick to with my computer mods is I just really enjoy. Why did you get a thumbs up?
Oh, I have no idea.
That's weird. But yeah, that's what I try to stick to with my computer mods is I just really enjoy like the model making side of it and the you know, things like that. But dude, like making that helmet, wouldn't that look cool and like picture it in black and gunmetal and gold accents or something like
Yeah.
that?
So, and the original concept for this, and you can see this on my Instagram page. So there's a little recess. I don't know if you can see it. Kind of like right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So, um, my original idea was that these would be able to light up,
Hmm.
and so not originally they'd be off, and then under right here under the eyes, there's a little piece right here that would also light up. I got this idea from because my story behind this helmet is that the wearer would be kind of a more stealthy assassin. Um, And so they'd be in darkness, but when they want to present themselves, they would like light up and kind of allow themselves to be seen. Uh, and I got that idea from Overwatch, one of the cinematics with Genji and Hanzo.
Oh
Have,
yeah.
when you first are introduced to Genji and his body lights up, and I was like, I want that. I want that. So I thought, you know what, this would be kind of a cool effect to do Mandalorian style. And that was kind of the concept between or behind Talon was kind of assassin, stealthy, but still able to go.
Do you have more of his armor?
No,
Oh man, you should make the
no.
rest. What would his
I
weapons be?
so and that's the thing is like I mean I have I've been working on my own Mandalorian suit since 2014. That's the whole reason why I really got into all this is like, you know what? I love Star Wars, love Mandalorians. I want to make a suit. I made some friends who have phenomenal suits. And
But they're
here I
not
am
they're not
still,
yours.
no,
Yours
no.
is yours, even if it's not as glamorous as the next guy. That's the thing. Making
And
making stuff
that's,
is about using your voice and just
yeah,
having it become physical.
yeah. My issue, and I know this is my biggest issue, is I can't stop changing the design.
You've also done that with your keyboard.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at least I got to the point to where it's like, okay, this is gonna be awesome, and I cannot wait for it. But with my Mandalorian, I have literally got pages of different sketches of like, hey, if I have this piece of tech here, I'll be able to hack into the doors, and I'll be able to like, you know, R2D2's thing that he
I know what it is. I know
the
it. The
yeah,
little
the
arm.
thing, yeah, that yeah, I want to have one of those on my gauntlet that I'll be able to hack into my own uh into buildings and on my own and all sorts of stuff. And it's like I've got all these ideas that I want to incorporate, but I can't just sit down and make a version and then go from there. Is
But dude, what if you did?
I
What if
know.
what
I
if
know.
you went ahead and you just made the versions and you said, okay, I'm gonna make 1,000 alterations. However, I'm gonna make every suit. Now that'd be expensive, but imagine the cool progression when you're done, dude. Imagine you had
Yeah.
imagine you had 5 mannequins lined up in your shop, and like 2014, that was Talon. Here we are, 2030.
Yeah.
He's insane. You know what a cool
Yeah.
display that would be, and
Yeah.
like lifelong project.
Yeah. But that's the thing too, is and it's very heavily known in the Mandalorian community. The suit's never done.
Yeah,
It's never done.
but
It
even actual like canon Mandalorian suit is never done.
exactly. Yeah. So
That'd be cool though. I think you should
it's
do it.
I really want to. So
You should at least start with painting the helmet.
yeah. Well, I need to tweak it and make it so it prints better too.
So
So
could the Jupiter make that in 2 pieces?
it'd probably be like three, but I found so many phenomenal modern modelers out there and designers that they hide their seam lines so cleanly, and it's like I want to do that. And that's like the this keyboard project was the whole start of that. My so the goal for it was to be able to make it somewhat modular, but I couldn't make all of this in one piece, so I need to break it up somehow. So a buddy of mine was like, "Well, have intentional well, not break points, but break in the design points." And so that's why this middle piece has these slots right here. Is it actually is where the parts separate.
Oh,
And
that's really
so
nice.
that's something that like, and this is kind of the first project I've implemented for that. So going through and editing that to do this is going to be a process, but
I wasn't
it'll make
ignoring you.
prints.
I was just looking something up. I just started using it. I did this big Viking model, and I just
Oh
picked some
yeah.
more up. I just picked some more up today because it's so awesome. It's called Vallejo plastic putty. I don't know if you've used it or
Okay.
seen it before, but it's just a small tube from your like hobby or model shops, Vallejo plastic putty. Oh, and it's kind of like a Bondo, but it's specifically made for
Okay.
plastics. But what's
Okay.
I found so cool with it, it actually really surprised me, is like I used it, when you do a print in 2 pieces, and I used resin and a UV light to stick it together. Yeah, thumbs up again. I used the resin and a plastic, a UV light to stick them together. You're still left with that seam, but I used this Vallejo plastic putty and I went around it, and I thought, okay, I'll use my finger to clean it up, like you would with Bondo or something.
Yeah.
But the viscosity of the Vallejo plastic putty is so nice. You can actually use a paintbrush and like put it where you need it, and it dries like
And like
beautifully.
blend it in.
Yeah, it worked really well. It surprised me.
Interesting. I'll have to try that.
And it's made for minis,
Because
so it's made for like really tiny stuff.
okay.
So it worked really
And
well.
so like on my keyblade that I just did, that was the first time I've ever used resin to fill in the seams. And so what I did, because the length of the keyblade, the actual silver part, that's where there are two seams that I could not hide there. And so what I ended up doing was I put a bead of super glue around it and then joined the two pieces. And then once the super glue cured, I did the resin trick where you put the resin and then cure it. And I just used an eyedropper and I just dripped the resin on there and cured it and then sanded it. And it did so good.
Yeah, that would do really well.
And so one of the seams I know where it is because I did it, but I show people like and they can kind of see the other one, but the one of the two they never are able to find. And
That's kind of a
so,
fun test.
yeah,
But
so it's one of those things where it's like I really want to take my designs to a new level for myself to where I'm able to um, visibly hide the seam lines,
yeah, that makes
if
sense.
that makes sense. Okay.
It would just become known to you and just leave it there,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And by doing so would also make it so that the pieces are easier to make.
Yeah.
I'm not having to spend thousands of dollars on a giant printer, or I mean, because for me
Bigger.
personally, yeah, for me personally, I don't think I'm ever going to buy another FDM printer.
Yeah, I'm kind of
uh,
I'm having a hard time with it. I know that, so I have a Prusa Mini. Prusa
mhm.
makes the XL now that
Yeah, yeah,
looks really great, but for the price, I'm like, man, resin is just so. You know what I really enjoy about resin is that it's sandable,
so clean and
and I find
easy.
by working with something that you can sand, it changes it, right? It brings back that it brings it back to being tactile, like you're working with a piece of
Mhm.
wood or something you're used to. Whereas an FDM, you can't, you can sand a little, but
It's a pain.
not the same, because if you sand too much, you might end up exposing what's under the,
Mhm.
actual printed layer. So that's like my main thing with resin is I find it more workable, and
Yeah,
I'm a fairly scrappy maker. So having something be workable is to my advantage.
yeah, yeah,
But awesome, dude. Well, I'm going to probably wrap it up. We're getting a little long, but
yeah.
for the guys listening, where's the best place for them to find you and kind of keep track of the projects you're working on?
My very unactive Instagram.
Yeah, got a whole post in this year.
Yeah, I got one post in. Maybe I'll make two and announce the keyboard officially, but
But
we'll
you
see.
are on there a lot if anybody wants to
Yeah,
chat to
I
you.
yeah, I'm on there a lot. Always open to answer questions, whether it be about 3D design, CNC, 3D printing. Always welcome to help out.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, I do help with projects. Like I've helped Eric. A lot of people have helped me with my own stuff, so I feel like I'm paying it forward to them for um, helping out the rest of the community. Because I mean, like you've said before, sharing the knowledge. I've had a privilege to work in aerospace. I currently work in integrated circuit design, and so that's really why I'm able to do this. Is because I've had people take me under their wing and teach me, and I really enjoy helping people. So I'm more than thrilled and ecstatic that you still look back at those videos I made for you to
Oh yeah.
for help with the CNC. So
Dude, they were awesome
yeah,
videos.
yeah. So
They were like textbook. You could sell those things.
yeah. But I mean, always welcome to or always open to helping out with projects.
Yeah, awesome. And I can vouch that, you are helpful and punctual, and you kind of, what I appreciated about working with you was you did the work, but you also did the work in a way that I could understand it working backwards. Like for example, when you did uh the reservoir design, you did it in the layers so that when I had to go make a change, which I ended up having to make a change, it wasn't so complex for me to work with. So
Yeah.
that was nice, dude, because it was like 2 in the morning and it was helpful. Everything's
And I
at two
mean,
in the morning.
it's one of those moments where it's like that was the first time I have ever designed a reservoir, and it's like if I was new to this, I mean, I was familiar with VCarve, but I was new to the project, and so it's like, hey, what can I do to help it be easier for him if he's in a pinch? So I mean, definitely just try and make things as easy as they can be because projects get very, very complicated. I mean, very complicated.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to your keyboard.
very complicated.
That's the PCB?
Yeah, so this is the PCB. I literally broke off the support tabs that they had to put on uh, earlier today.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so we got the little microcontroller here. Each key has its own diode. There's LEDs that go across all of it. Actually, I haven't even done this yet. Do the switches fit?
Moment of truth.
You saw it first live here. The switches work.
Wow, that's pretty cool, dude. Congratulations.
But yeah, so yeah,
Awesome. Well,
always. Yeah,
sorry, I was just saying, yeah, awesome dude to work with. And I really appreciate the episode, man. Thanks for jumping on here and spending your Thursday night with me.
yeah, sure thing, man. So
Awesome. Well, take care.
yeah, you too. I'll
Thanks,
see you.
buddy.